when you're a kid, you always look to your parents, right? Mm-hmm. They do everything. You don't worry about anything. You don't have a care in the world until you're, well, if you're a 90s baby or earlier, until your parents go to work and you're like the oldest kid. So you're in charge. All of a sudden, something happens in your head and you stop being a kid and you start worrying about turn this off, keep this on, this, that, and that.
Imagine you have a company, right? And the goal for the company is we want to make $10,000 this month, right? Now, there's going to be key results, meaning that what are the three key things that we need to accomplish to be able to achieve this $10,000, right? And then for each key results, one person is an owner.
59 seconds, I'm out of here.
But mentally, they're done at 4:15.
I'm not going to blame you for that, right? Because there are pros and cons of having that employee mindset, right? If you're working in an environment like that where the business doesn't really care about you and they look at you like a number, well, you treat them like a number too.
And they
that number is on your paycheck.
Yeah. What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
Hey, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future content. Our podcast is about business and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. My name is Kay.
I am D. Allen.
And I'm Tosin. And today we're going to be talking about employee versus business owner mindset.
Oh, what's that? What's that? Talk to us.
You know, employee mindset is like, I just show up, I get paid, I'm out of here. All right, that's it. All right, don't ask me.
Isn't that what I'm supposed to do when I get hired as an employee?
Okay. I mean, I guess, we'll talk about that a little bit more. We'll dive in. However, that business owner mindset is all about responsibility. I got to get it done. They depend on me for XYZ. I have the authority. I have the responsibility. I must do all of these things to make sure that everybody, including the business, is good to go.
Yeah. I think when you're talking about employee mindset versus business mindset, I look at it from three different angles, right?
Yep.
Number one, risk mindset perspective, right? Because when it's time to, make decisions, the risk mindset is different, right? Well, speaking of decisions, the decision mindset making also is different, right? And then number three, you think about the growth and the autonomy mindset. I think with business owners, there's more autonomy because, you're just constantly pivoting to try and figure out the best way to move versus an employee where, it's a bit more structured and they're just trying to focus on their role specifically, right? But that's how I look at it. What about you, Alan?
I was trying to remember an analogy. A wise person once told a wise person that I know about a table. You remember that table analogy of like, you kind of have to, what is it about lifting the table?
Wow. It's my analogy. So
I thought a wise person told you.
No, that's the one I use. I'm the wise. Thank you very much. No, but
so what's the analogy?
So my analogy is, it's that business owner mindset is where, if you look at my desk, right, it's kind of heavy, So if I was trying to lift it up on my own, right, I'd have to use all my strength, my arms, my legs.
He's strong, trust me.
Just to barely get it lifted up. However, if enough of us in the business come around that table, we put our hands on it, right, and we start lifting, at some point, we might not even need two hands to pick it up. We might all be lifting with one hand. Right. So you get to share and spread that responsibility across everybody else.
That's when everybody has that same mindset.
That's it. Yeah. That's what many of us are looking for as business owners. Right. We're always looking for all of our employees to think like us, to be like us, to be replicas like us. Okay, but is that really possible?
So I think that the analogy I would use that to drive it home so that employees out there can kind of understand the mindset of a business owner. It's like this, right? When you're a kid, you always look to your parents, right? They do everything. You don't worry about anything. You don't have a care in the world until you're, well, if you're a 90s baby or earlier, until your parents go to work and you're like the oldest kid. So you're in charge. All of a sudden, something happens in your head and you stop being a kid and you start worrying about turn this off, keep this on, this, that, and that. That's
Get out of there.
Yeah. And so that's being responsible and thinking ahead and taking ownership of what you're supposed to be doing, rather than waiting to be told to do everything or waiting to be told, just sitting there when like I sometimes get frustrated when my staff asks me, hey, this happened. What do we do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do we do?
Yeah, like I also have to come up with an answer.
Well, I don't know,
there's no
Doc.
playbook.
What do you
for
want
that.
us to do? I'm like, well, let's do this scenario. Does this decision require a doctorate degree? It doesn't? Okay. So what's the issue? Such and such called, the lab dropped this, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, if you were me or the patient, what would you want to happen? Well, I would want to know what happened at the lab, how long it will take. So why are you waiting on me? Go find out how long it's going to take. Figure it out. Schedule them out. Give yourself a buffer time in case the lab messes up again. And then some of these things, and these are the mentality you have to have instead of waiting for someone to tell you the solution or how to proceed, or, that like we have to start something at 8, like you've mentioned in the past, get there at 7:30 to make sure everything runs smoothly. Don't get there at 7:59 and be like, this doesn't work. We didn't set up this, So
I think a lot of it has to do with, how you onboarded your employees, right? And the culture that you've developed within the company, right? Because, for me, when I was, running my last company, I was very adamant about ownership, right? Having that ownership mentality, right? To the point where it was systematically done within the company. So when I say systematically, when we do our stand up in the morning, so stand up, for those people who don't know, in the tech world, it's basically your status meeting, right? Everybody gets on, everybody talks about what they've been doing since the last time you guys had a meeting, what problems you're incurring, and, who's going to help to solve that problem. And so we talk about the OKR, right? OKR mean objective key results, right? So basically, to put it in layman's term, or should I say to explain it in simplicity, imagine you have a company, right? And the goal for the company is we want to make $10,000 this month, right? Now, there's going to be key results, meaning that what are the 3 key things that we need to accomplish to be able to achieve this $10,000, right? And then for each key results, one person is an owner, right? I'm a firm believer that when you have 2 people as owners, you don't have any owner, right?
Nobody.
So once you've been able to identify the person
what
that's...
do you mean by owner?
So owner means the person that's responsible for making sure that happens.
Yes.
Right? So once you've been able to identify the owners, those owners are now going to identify who's going to be responsible for those things, right? There was a story I was given about somebody was visiting NASA in Houston, right? And
I love this story.
He went there and, he asked the garbage man.
Yeah.
He said, hey, what is your job here? What are you trying to do?
Yep.
And he said that our job here is to put man on the moon. Right? And he was like,
What's your garbage man?
He's like, I don't understand that.
And we would give him our number.
I need to hire that guy.
He was so confused. He was like, what do you mean? And then he broke it down very simply.
Yeah.
He said that my job is to make sure that all the trash, all the things that are not in place are in place, trash are taken out, so that every single person that is in this building can do what they need to do
to get the man on the moon.
Exactly. And it's all compounded, right?
Yeah.
If the guy on the level 3 does what he needs to, if the person on the level 10 does what they need to do, it allows the people on level 9 to do what they need to do. And then it goes up and up. And now if everybody do what they need to do, guess what? We're going to achieve that goal. And that's what I look at as the, business ownership mindset, which is, hey, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I know that my job is 9 to 5, right? But when it's
step
outside the scope of my work, am I still willing to go above and beyond to still make sure that things are being done correctly?
Because ultimately, it makes your job. If everyone has the same mentality you have, like he said, it makes everyone's job easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you end up doing less. You know how they say doing more is doing less, right?
Yes.
It's one of those situations where it's like almost a conundrum. By undertaking more when I can, and you have other team players the same way, instead of you having to do your own job, I'm like, oh, I'm free.
Yeah.
What do you need help with? Okay, I'll do that. I already did that.
Yeah.
So we're all getting out on time. And at our office, I'm like, look, we're not going to get out on time because you're sitting here. You see she's working hard. Yeah, it's not your job. You can't help her. And then and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I have that team playing going on, we're always early, even when
Yeah.
we're behind.
Yeah.
So
And it's all about just taking initiative, right? But, you know, I kind of want to go back to what I talked about earlier, right? You know, I talked about how the mindset fall into three categories, right? Risk mindset, decision-making mindset, growth/autonomy mindset, right? I want to look at the risk mindset perspective, right? Because it's quite evident that the risk that an employee is able to take is different from the risk that a business owner would take, right? But ultimately, the mindset is what determines, who should be doing what, right? So I want to ask you guys, why do you think a lot of business owners want their employees to have a business owner's mindset?
Tosin?
I think, for me, I'll put it this way. I have a minimum requirement.
Okay.
Right. Whenever we're hiring people, right, I have a minimum expectation of them taking on that responsibility that we're allocating a little bit more towards business owner mindset. However, if we were to mention it, some people might say, hey, this is just how employees are supposed to be.
Right.
Meaning like showing up on time. Doing your job. Bill Belichick calls it, do your job.
Do your job.
All right?
Do your job.
That's like a bare minimum, but it seems like we as business owners have to be repeating these things over and over. It's like...
It is exhausting sometimes.
It is exhausting.
Because
Right.
you can't do your job yourself because you're spending so much time making sure they do their job.
So I need them as a business owner. That's why I'm now coming in and saying that, you know what? I need you guys to understand some of this weight that we carry on around, right? Because I always tell everyone that, we business owners, we wear multiple hats. We're the janitor. We're the ones that open the door. We're the ones that answer the phones. We're the ones that answer all the emails if no one else does. If nobody else does it, we're going to be there to do it, so on and so forth. We're the ones carrying all the worry about, every 2 weeks, what's payroll looking like? Are we able to make payroll?
Yeah.
Do we have enough money? We got to pull from the line of credit. We got to pay back the line of credit. Oh, it's about time to shut the doors. Oh no, we need to get more funding. Let me run. You've got all of these worries.
Times 10 in your head.
Yes. So therefore, you're just begging for somebody to be like, I get it. You see one of these hats, I might not be able to take on the full hat, but the piece that I take, you don't have to worry about that.
Oh my God.
Oh my! That spoke to you, huh? That spoke to you.
That's like
Like
a birthday
you don't.
gift.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, like that's like someone said.
This thing that I'm taking.
When you know
Don't
that,
even look back. I got you.
It's like the sports reference that you have, right? You have a wide receiver, and you're like, you don't even have to make spectacular catches, but when it hits you in the chest, hold on to it.
Catch the ball.
Or just don't fumble at this point. Like,
Yeah, but let me play devil's advocate,
you know
right?
they got it. You're like,
let me
good.
play devil's advocate because I'm an employee, right? You're paying me a salary, right? And even though I'm not necessarily taking any risk, right? But you pay me 9 to 5, right? So why should I go above and beyond when the reality is you're the one making all the money?
No, that's true. But then that goes to
You ever heard this? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you ever heard the saying, it's not your papa's company. Like, it's not my daddy's company. Why should I be acting and working and busting my tail like it's my dad's company?
because your dad ain't gonna give it to you anyway. They about to come over here.
Well, if you ain't busting your butt for your dad,
free.
he definitely won't give it to you for sure.
I think it kind of falls back on what you say, right? The culture that you develop starts in the beginning. So you should interview everybody to see what their mind is and what their expectations are and what your expectations are. So you don't have unmet expectations. You're not expecting more from them and they're not expecting less to do less, right? So you know where you stand, like, okay, well, either I'm not going to hire you because I know that you're not looking to growth, or I am going to hire you and be like, are you looking to grow? This is why. Because if you're looking to grow, this is what comes with growing. Right? It comes, the higher you go up, the more ownership of responsibility and the tasks that you have, but also comes the higher income, right? So we're not going to give responsibility in more share of the company or any profit share or any kind of compensation in any way to someone who's not responsible, right? Or taking any ownership. It doesn't make any sense. You'd be running your company down a downward spiral.
I mean, I get your question, right? There are multiple times more employees than business owners.
Yes.
Right. So we know that there are some businesses out there, to them, you're just a number.
Right.
You know, so no matter how much blood, sweat, and tears you put out there, they don't care. You know, somebody else is going to put in the same blood and sweat and tears because they need that job. Right. It's more of people need that job than me as a business. I need you.
And in a lot of bigger companies.
So they tend to use people, and therefore people get complacent and be like, whoa, wait, hold on. If that's what you're going to do, right, I'm just going to, at 9, I'm going to show up. At 5, don't even look for me. All right. I'm out the door even before like 4:40.
4:30, I stop working.
59 seconds. I'm out of here.
But mentally, they're done at 4:15.
I'm not going to blame you for that. Right. Because there are pros and cons of having that employee mindset. Right. If you're working in an environment like that where the business doesn't really care about you and they look at you like a number, well, you treat them like a number too.
And
that number is on your paycheck.
All
right. So I ain't doing a little bit more. Now, if you're going to give me overtime or, double overtime for holiday work and all, I'm going to be there. Right. But don't be giving me straight overtime. Like I'll probably do the same.
And I think you're right, because the thing is, as an employee, well, I will hope that every employee ultimately either want to climb the career ladder or they want to be an entrepreneur someday, right? And a wise person once told me that you can't be a good leader unless you are a good follower, because you need to be able to assess and see how they're making decisions, how, they assess risk, even though they have all this autonomy, how they go about their business, right? Because that's ultimately prepping you for that next level that you're trying to go to, right? So I still tell people all the time that, look, be the change that you want to see. Meaning that if you're going somewhere, start acting like it now, right? You ultimately, whether you're in leadership or whether you are a business owner, that business owner mindset still have to exist, right? So you can't say that, look, they hired me for A, so I'm not finna do B.
Right.
The mindset has to be, they hire me for A, I'm going to do A, but I'm also show them that I can do B, C, and D. You get what I'm saying? That's because.
But at that point, it's almost like showing like, you need me. I'm indisposable. I am that guy.
Exactly.
And I feel like people don't understand that.
Position
They're like,
yourself.
they feel like, well, you don't pay me or this, that, and I'm like, well, why would they?
Yeah, that's true.
They pay you for your job and you're doing your job. If you want to get paid more, you have to show us that you can do more. And then we're like, oh, this person's on a leadership track. I want this person to be like that person. It's a relief. I want to reward and encourage that.
So we were having a conversation earlier, right? And you gave the example of you knew you wanted to be a business owner early on. And so that's the way you operated at every job. I actually have the same story, actually, because in every job that I was going to, I had that mindset. I was actually taking from these employers, meaning that I would make sure that I learned everything, go above and beyond, because when I jump out, I'm gonna need all the skills that I can get.
Yes. Exactly.
Right? And I'm not gonna have, like you said, somebody I can follow and
Right.
see them make mistakes.
Yeah.
Or make mistakes on their dime.
time
Oh,
for
make
you to-
mistakes on their dime. Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna go above and beyond, like,
You know,
and
you
just
know,
go
they-
to them. I'm
they-
like, I'm sorry, I lost this client.
they-
you know, like what they gonna do?
So we have a saying in dental school, right? They say, you need to make all your mistakes now. The patients are aware, yada, yada, yada. Learn it. Because if you get out there, you make a mistake,
Yes, sir.
you're going
gonna
to
sue
pay
you.
for it. We call that continuing education. Like
Yeah.
you get, see, you met, okay, it seems like you had a lot of continuing education. Like,
So, I mean, what I'm trying to say from there is that you've got to have an awareness of where you're at, right? You can't just be too laid back and have that employee mindset
Right.
if
Right.
there are things that, you want to do in the future. Because, like I always tell everyone, I get people all the time coming to me, Tosin, I'm tired of this 9 to 5. I want to be my own business owner. But like you said,
That's not
what have you learned
Yeah.
from where you're at now?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
all of those places that you've been at that you think prepares you to be a business
So
owner.
check this out. I know a lot of our audience are also employees, right? Can we talk about the pros and cons of having an employee mindset and then the pros and cons of having a business owner
the
mindset?
pros.
Well, I mean, I already did the pro, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
It's
so
more.
maybe you get,
The
there's
pro-
more.
the pros
Okay, go
of
ahead.
having a employee
Yes,
mindset
yes.
is you go home, you done. You ain't got to worry about how the bills are paid.
You don't have
When-
to worry about
When
payroll.
the phone rings, you're like, oh, sorry, I forgot to turn
Like
on
this-
Do Not Disturb.
No,
Do not
no. The
disturb.
pros is when the phone rings. Oh, this is my work phone. I thought this was
Yeah,
my
you know, like
personal phone.
I thought I left that. I thought I left that in my
work.
drawer.
Yeah, and we joke and all that, but seriously, like you don't know what it's like to be a business owner. Even when I was a associate, pretending in my head I was a business owner, trying to run everything, run the math, I would ask, how much you get paid? How much you get paid? How much this costs? How much this costs? I'm like, okay, so I really need to pick it up because we need to hit these numbers. Da, 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 da. It's not the same. That's just make believe. It's helping prepare you to want to take the ownership. But when you actually get into business, there's the reason why business is difficult is because most businesses deal with people, right?
Yeah.
People are how money comes in, unless you got some kind of unlimited grant. That,
Yeah.
whatever administration can't change. Right?
Call me.
Right? So people are unpredictable. So you could predict it and still be like, now I got to pivot. You're constantly
You can do
pivoting.
the same business as somebody else,
Somebody
but people
else.
are different and
People are
bold.
different. Even people over here are different than people over here. So
Yeah.
it's just so many moving parts that you always have to be ahead of. You can never be like, okay, I'm good. I'm just coasting. No, there's change is inevitable,
Yeah.
right? So you can't be like, we're good. I don't need to do nothing. No, you'll become Blockbuster.
Yeah.
We use that. Sorry, Blockbuster. We keep using this example and reference, but
What other pros can we think
just
of? Because
pros.
we've talked to, the whole thing is gone.
benefits. A lot of jobs give you your own benefit.
Yeah, they'll match your paycheck.
I think also
you can leave at any point. You're not tied to anything. So you're like, oh, you know what? I got a better offer. I want to leave. You can't leave your own business.
well, it's also easier to be able to have a work-life balance as an employee. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes as a business owner, there are seasons, I'm sure for you during tax season, I couldn't even reach you.
Right.
You are nowhere to be found. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? But for somebody that maybe not people that work for you because they're all busy, right? During the tax season. But for a regular employee, once you clock out, that's it.
Yeah.
I remember for me when I was working for Southwest, when I'm out. That's it. I don't think about it until the next day.
Yeah.
It's not until the next day. And I was like, let me see what's in this calendar. Let me see what's in this email. But majority of the time, it's like,
You're not crunching numbers or thinking about stuff in the middle of the night.
Don't think about
Why
it.
you watching Netflix?
you don't think about it. So I guess, but then there's a cost to that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because at the end of the day, whether you are an employee, whether you are a business owner, the one thing that is required is growth, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
want to make sure
Yes.
that stagnation
No
does not
matter what.
exist,
Yes.
right? As an employee, you want to either make sure that you're climbing the ladder or you're making more money,
Or
right?
you're building your skills
Exactly.
to be able to help you
To be able-
somewhere
That's
else.
what I was gonna
Exactly.
say. It
You
doesn't
know?
have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be levels, but you need to learn how to do other things.
Right.
Because, I mean, like you said, they can fire you tomorrow. They can replace you.
Right.
Okay, well,
Or
now
new
you've been there
technology
5
can
years.
come in,
Yeah,
you
you've
know,
been there
like-
5,
Yeah.
10 years. Oh, they fired me. You didn't get any skills the whole 10 years?
Yeah.
Your resume looks the same?
Yeah.
Like, catalog and all of your projects and whatnot. So that you can be like, okay, I went here at this time. These are the projects I've done. And I've done this.
Yeah.
Who knows? Your next job will probably start you off at a higher amount than you left your last job. So,
Yeah.
it's important, I agree, to make sure you expand your skill set.
And I would say for a business owner, if you're expecting your employees to have that same business owner mindset, there's got to be a benefit in it for them.
Correct.
You can't just expect take from your employees and they're giving it,
Yeah.
and then you don't give back to them
Yeah.
somehow.
But I
Yeah.
think,
Right. It doesn't have to be monetary.
But I think, like, for most employees, it is monetary. But I think the issue is,
the right. I'm gonna jump on that one. The right employees don't
Correct.
always look for money.
No. I think the issue now is there's a standstill between the employee who thinks that they give so much and deserve this much, but you think they only gave this much and deserve this much because you see the bigger picture, right?
Well,
They
you need
only
to
see-
communicate that then.
Sometimes there's not a, like, no matter what happens, they always think, like, I'm sure if they take a poll, right? Most employees think, okay, I'm giving
Yeah, they do more.
150%.
Yes.
And the owner is like, you're giving like 70. Like, like, I'm sure if it's not like
there
equal.
might be a gap. It won't be equal.
But
'cause-
also that's why these meetings, regular meetings, are important. So you guys, it comes closer to like 105 and 95, right? Because it might not ever be equal.
So
is
you're
what I'm trying
saying
to
that
say.
you need to document the expectations,
Yes,
so
and the
that at least it
progression.
gets you a
Yes,
little
it
bit
has
closer.
to be measurable, right? What you expect, and you have to reassess it so y'all are both on the same page. Because
Okay,
if
I
too
can
much
tweak.
time
I can
goes
tweak.
on, they think they're putting this much effort. You're like, you put this much effort. I can show you how it is, and they get mad because they're like, well, I've been doing so. Like, they think you're changing the rules every time to your benefit. So
yeah.
that's something that needs to be addressed, because I think if you're an employee, you really need to assess yourself, assess other people who have the position you want. I don't think people assess themselves in that manner. They assess themselves and they overly give themselves credit for what they're doing. But then I'm like, okay, move laterally and look for people who get paid what you do and whatever, and see what they actually bring to the table. If you don't bring that to the table, then you have no bargaining power. Just because you know someone who is in your similar position and you're like, well, they get paid more. Well, yeah, they have your title, but they do a million things more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Look, at the end of the day, when it comes to employee mindset versus business mindset, whether you're taking risk, making a decision, or whether you have the autonomy, the one thing is important, and that is growth.
That's right.
Growth.
We agree on that.
And growth only happens when you take initiative. Tony Robbins once said that if you're not growing, you're dying,
yeah.
which means that stagnation is not an option. Everybody can be an entrepreneur. So whether you are an employee, whether you're a business owner, the one thing that matters is that you're always taking the initiative and you're always growing. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow me on @OneHorizon on Instagram. Where can they find you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. What my
Where can they find you, bro?
I am ADDS.
Yeah.
Hey.
Tosin?
He's still thinking about the topic. He's like, I'm not ready.
you wrapping it up so quick.
Is there
felt like I had something
is there
more on
some
my chest.
employee that you got to get something off?
No, first let's see where we can find you before we get
AmataraCPA.com, Tosin Amatayo on Instagram. It's kind of bare, but it is.
And then, you can find us obviously at Beyond the Grind.
That's right.
Honest.
If you're
BTG.
watching,
Yeah.
just click on the link below. If this is a clip on Instagram,
Yeah.
go watch the full clip on YouTube.
And guys, please make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Until next time, it's your boy K. Peace.
Hey.
Stay packaged.